This video is going to look at human dignity, the common good, Mass as a communion and unity, and then finally it's also going to look at CAFO as well, because all these essentially to do with why we have to sort of look after the human beings, whether they need to be treated with respect and what we can do about it. So let's get straight into it. The first one is human dignity. All right, now this is the belief that all human beings, regardless of anything, are worthy of sort of honour and respect, essentially because of the fact they're a human. Now, when it comes to Catholic views on this, it's really obviously sort of straightforward, all right? We just got to think about, like, the fact that children of God, you've got to think about the fact that we've all been given responsibility to look after one another, stewardship and pastoral, social roles, all that sort of stuff, okay? And life is sacred, etc. So let's get into it, right? If you have to describe or explain sort of Catholic views on dignity, okay, on the dignity of human life, or on human dignity, or on how humans should be treated in certain ways, just think of these sort of ideas. So, first things first, we're all children of God, we're all made in His image and likeness, so therefore we have to look after one another, okay? All life is sacred, we're vessels of the Holy Spirit, so we need to respect and protect life. We need to prioritise helping those in need, okay, whose dignity, if you want, is being jeopardised or threatened. And you can link that to the parable of the Good Samaritan, where Jesus said we should prioritise helping those in need. You can also link that to the parable of the sheep and the goats, okay, about what you do to the least of my brothers, you do unto me. Then you've got to say about the fact that when it comes to human dignity, then this is doing, people are being, a lot of the time, being discriminated against. It's got to do with it, if their dignity is threatened, all right, and if it's any type of discrimination, then this needs to be curbed. Remember the teaching from the Catechism. Then, okay, you can talk about, just got a couple of sort of like bespoke points here you can add in, all right, if you really want to go for like your A stars, that Catholics have a duty to protect human life. And as a teaching from the Catechism says, what is at stake is the dignity of the human person, whose defence and promotion have been entrusted to us by the Creator. You could link that to the idea of stewardship as well, if you're struggling, okay, to remember that quote, because it is very sort of like specific. You can also then, okay, speak about the fact that part of human dignity, Catholics should promote the common good, all right, which means that we should look after not just sort of groups of people, but specific individuals as well. We all have the right, okay, we all have the right to live in a good way, really, as a human being, and to be treated with dignity. So the Catechism says to care and protect the dignity of one individual is linked to the common good. All right, you can say that, you can put it in there, that quotation. Now, how exactly they do this, all right, then? You use all the sort of points I've said above, right? But sort of like this would be used for like your therefores, they do this, right? So if that is the case, then you could say, number one, they promote human dignity in all that they do, all right? So they just support one another, they look out for one another. It could be their job. Do you mean it could be their job that promotes human dignity? It could be a charity worker, could be some, you can say a teacher. Do you mean that promotes human dignity? Because we're trying to teach people about the importance of treating others in a dignified way. You can say it, what's called, you can link it to how when we stand up against things, or we campaign against sort of like laws that jeopardize human dignity. So you can link that to anti-abortion or anti-euthanasia sort of laws, or campaigns I should say rather than laws. Support charities that campaign for social justice, such as CAFO. They could do it themselves. I mean, they can stand up when people's human dignity is being jeopardised. So it could be that they volunteer, that they sort of volunteer, or they run something like the food bank, or work with the SVP in their local church, or a homeless shelter, that sort of idea. I've mentioned about campaigning, all right, but you could say, if you want to be specific, about signing petitions and going out and campaigning, do you mean placard in hand? And you could also say that supporting initiatives that promote human dignity, so fair trade, all right, and the pro-life movement would be another one you could say in there as well. So you could be asked this if it's like an alternative to it, all right, if it comes up as an evaluation question. Then I suppose the things you say is that when it comes to human dignity, there's only so much we can do. We're only individuals. And you could link that point then to the church. There's only so much that the church can do, okay, because the church has some status in society, of course, but it isn't going to necessarily impact fully on sort of legislature and sort of views of a country to change to protect what's called the dignity of human beings. You've got to say that it's down to government instead of us. You could say that some victims do not want to change or struggling to change. You could say that's a sort of addiction, if you wanted, all right? And you could say about the financial issue of supporting people's human dignity, whether that's for us as individuals, but for countries as well, okay? So, as human dignity, I'm going to jump straight to the common good because it's very, very similar, all right? Very similar kind of ideas. Now, when it comes to the common good, what you need to know is the common good, the way it's described is creating or ensuring and providing the right social conditions so that individuals and communities can live their life to the fullest, okay? So it's about individuals and it's about communities. So every person essentially being able to have a safe and free life. So if you get asked Catholic views on the common good, number one, they believe in the common good. Just start with that. They believe in the common good and it's important to them. And the reason for that is linked essentially to what I just said as a definition. You can say the reason for this is that Catholics believe that all individuals and communities should have access to a free and happy life. And that comes from the Catechism. So therefore, Catholics believe that we should prioritise the common good in all that we do, okay? We should try and support individuals and communities in all that we do. And it could be through their job, it could be through donating to charity, whatever. There's those generic kind of answers again. The next point is that Catholics must provide the right social conditions for all human beings through their pastoral role, and then the third point is through their social role. So essentially they can do stuff themselves to promote the common good. So the type of thing you can say there is that they can prioritise helping the poor and needy, people who are not living their life to the fullest, okay? They can do this by volunteering for the SVP, running homeless shelters, those sort of ideas that we always use. Then, when it comes to their social role, all right, and this is because they want to promote the common good for communities that they can't necessarily help themselves, so they need to support groups who can go and help those, all right, who are not living their life to the fullest. So we're going to link this to CAFO, all right? They support CAFO, who go out, all right, and support people to help improve their social conditions to essentially to promote social justice, campaign against social injustice. Then, if you want, right, just to finish it off, that sort of fourth point, I would say that Catholics should be motivated, okay, to fight against sort of laws or systems that do not promote the common good. And the reason for this is that we all have a responsibility. To look out for the common good. And you can link this to the ideas of even love thy neighbour, okay, or or stewardship. So therefore, the best example for this when it comes to the common good, you can link it to the idea of abortion. So you can say that abortion, the law, doesn't allow that human life to live its life to the fullest, because essentially that life has been ended. So Catholics should campaign, support SPUC, support the pro-life movement and fight against it. So really try and remember that, because all you got to remember is that Catholics believe and promote the common good. Catholics believe they have responsibility to campaign for the common good through their own lives, through their pastoral role. They believe that we should fight for the common good through our social role by enabling others to sort of do it. All right, linking that to charity. And then finally, when it comes to specific laws or systems that jeopardize the common good, that they should fight against them. So things like abortion. All right. Now, when it comes to the common good, so Catholic views in general about how we should look out for one another, right? There's a symbol for all of this, and it's the Mass. Okay. Now, you could be asked to explain or describe how the Mass is a symbol of communion and unity. Now, communion and unity, you put those together, all right, you come up with the word community, all right? So keep that in mind, because the whole thing is that Mass, all right, reminds us that we're all included and we're all together and we're all united. So it's a real symbol of sort of being united and how we should support one another. So if you get asked to explain Catholic views on the Mass as communion and unity, okay, you've got to say that the Mass is a symbol of communion and unity because, number one, it unites us with our community. Why? Because all Catholics are there, okay? They're all there together. So therefore, when they pray and worship together, those sort of bonds become stronger. All right, so it's a symbol for communion and unity because we're all united together. It shows us what it's like when all people unite together. It's also another one, okay, because they are united through their shared beliefs. And the reason for that is that the people there are all Catholic, all right, and there's that sort of unity between what it is that they believe. So like the therefore for that, you could say that that's why in Mass they say the creed together, and that's sort of like a summary of all their core beliefs. But if you can't remember the creed, just say like therefore that's the reason why they're all there to practice, because they all have the same belief in Jesus Christ. So this is another symbol of them being united through their beliefs. So they're united. So first thing you say is that they're united as a community. They're united through their beliefs, and also then they're united through their actions. And this is because the people in attendance in Mass are doing the same thing. All right. So therefore, they pray together, sing together, worship together. All that stuff is like, so if you were looking at the Mass and seeing the uniformity between them all, seeing them all doing the same thing, sort of suggests that, it or shows you of how Catholics want that uniformity between people. Okay, so the Mass is a symbol for this. The next one is it's a symbol, all right, of communion and unity, because we are united with Jesus in there. And the reason for this is that we receive sort of what's called that transubstantiation takes place, and we receive Holy Communion. We are united with Him. All right, and then finally you can say that there are the Church. It's called as a symbol of communion and unity, because it's at the heart of the community and everybody is welcome. So if you went in there, you would see people who are black, who are white, who are man, who are woman, child, old. I mean, a lot of old people will be there, all right, but you get my drift. That it's a real symbol of everybody is welcome in the Mass. You link that the idea as well that you have all different people doing different roles and stuff as well, all right, but that's a little bit extra. So just to sort of reiterate that, the Mass, why is it the symbol of communion and unity? Number one, because it shows we're united as a community. All right, we're all there together. Next one, we're united through our beliefs. We all believe the same thing. We're united by our actions. We're all praying, worshipping, reading, singing, all stuff at the same time. Then we are united, what's called, with Jesus, and that's through communion. All right, the fact that we receive communion, we become united with Him, another symbol of being connected and united. And finally, that it's a symbol of communion and unity. And this was a really important one as well, that everybody is welcome. Okay, there is Jew nor Greek. All right, even sort of, they want to link it to a teaching or perfect equality or something like that. Right, everybody is there in Mass, old, young, man, woman. You get my drift. Okay, so the final sort of thing we can say here is how Catholics sort of express how they care about human dignity, and they can, and sort of the question directly they'll ask you is to do with charity. Okay, sort of like a charity that promotes human dignity, or this also could be used about fights against sort of like debt, or fights for people in poverty, or fights against social injustice. You could be asked this sort of question. Now, if you are, then the charity you're going to choose, big surprise here, is CAFO. So if they ask you the question that is about how they fight against social injustice, a charity that does that, or a charity that promotes human dignity, you're going to speak about CAFO, as I said. So the first thing you need to say then, right, they promote human dignity because, number one, they provide short-term help. So essentially, if there's a war or natural disaster and people's lives are at risk, okay, the dignity of human life is at risk, then they intervene. They send things like basic medical supplies and shelters and things like that, so that they can help people, okay, whose, like I said, whose dignity is being reduced. The human rights to some extent are reduced because of the fact that in the country is in real flux. I mean, there's a war, there's a disaster, there's an emergency. Now, what they also want to do is that they campaign, all right? So if they want to sort of make real change, they need the government on board, all right? If we're going to promote human dignity, we need governments on board. So the point number two is that they campaign for social justice, or they campaign for the dignity of human beings. And the reason for this is that all those teachings about love, all of this is because, all right, for these, you can link them to love thy neighbor, all that type of stuff, all right? Parables, and yeah. So, type of things they do to campaign, all right, to the government. They'll actually sign petitions, that sort of stuff, all right? Or they'll actually go out and with the placards and campaign. They've got to get the government on board. But they need to get everyone on board if we're going to promote human dignity. So what they do is that they raise awareness. And the way they do this is through their website, through social media, through their newspaper Friday. You can talk about all that sort of stuff, all right, that helps to promote this status. But also they want to help what's called they want to help fight for sort of human dignity, all right, by actually supporting those whose dignity is sort of being reduced, to actually get out of it themselves. So you could say that they try to improve the lives of those who are in danger of the dignity of their life not being helped, if you want, or being impacted upon. And the way they do this is through like development programs. So they provide sort of education or training to support those in need to change their lives around. So it could be that, I don't know, they support a crop farmer to become a livestock farmer. All right, so like they teach them new skills to be able to sort of support them to get out of it. And then finally, they want longevity, so they want you lot on board. So what they do to fight to promote social justice or to fight for human dignity, that they want to get young people on board, so they help through education. So what they do is that the teaching you use for this is just so you can say that, like, I don't know, the kingdom of God is for the children, all right? And you could also say something along the lines of, as an Old Testament teaching I got here, start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. Okay, you can link that idea, or I don't know, that if you can't remember that quote, just explain without the teaching. And what you can say is that they provide resources and all that sort of stuff that get children to look at sort of their responsibility as future stewards of the world to help those whose dignity is being potentially impacted upon, all right, by sort of social conditions. So that summarizes quite 4 big topics, really. So I hope that was helpful.